Welcome to our video series on advanced techniques for web graphics. In this video, we'll explore IrfanView's batch conversion and rename function. In this video, I'm going to talk you through a very useful feature of IrfanView, and that's the batch conversion and rename feature, which is available through the File menu. Effectively, what this feature does is, as the name implies, it allows you to convert and rename multiple images at once. So, if you're dealing with a lot of images or doing repetitive tasks on images, then you'll find this a very useful feature. Also, when you're preparing images for publishing, for example, if you've been working with images in bitmap format and you're ready to publish in JPEG format, rather than converting each image separately, you can convert hundreds at a time. It also allows you to perform more advanced conversions, such as resizing dozens or even hundreds of images to your specifications all at one time. But just before I go into that, let me just quickly detail the software I'll be using for these demonstrations. I'll be using 3 free pieces of software, and as much as possible, I'll be doing the demonstrations across all 3, so you can choose to use whichever piece of software you prefer to work with. However, some of these pieces of software are better at certain things than others, so some of the demonstrations will focus more on one piece of software than the others. I'll be doing many of these demonstrations in IrfanView, which is a great free piece of software. I'll also be doing a lot of these demonstrations in Paint.net, which is free as well, and also a very good piece of software. And in my opinion, it does some things better than IrfanView and other things not quite as well. So they both have strong and weak points. In any case, it's good to have all these software programs installed so you can use whichever one you need for the task at hand. I'll also perform some demonstrations with a piece of software called the GIMP. It's a slightly odd interface in that it gives you separate windows. One window for the image, another for the tools, and it can even bring up other windows as well. So I find the interface a little unusual, but once you get past that, it's a great piece of software, and it's entirely free as well. So we'll be working with IrfanView, Paint.net, and the GIMP. As I said, I'll be doing these demonstrations in all 3 as much as possible, and they're all great pieces of free software, and hopefully they'll stay free, stay around, and be updated for a long while to come. You can get them at IrfanView at IrfanView.com, a free download, GIMP at GIMP.org, and Paint.net at GetPaint.net. Okay, I suggest you go to all 3 and install them, then using whichever one you prefer for the task at hand. Okay, let's go to IrfanView, and this example I'll just be doing in IrfanView. This is batch conversion. So go to File, Batch Conversion and Rename, and here's the screen for this function. First, we start in the top right of the screen. This is where you choose, where you navigate to where the images are. So in this case, I've navigated to the desktop. It's pretty standard navigation functionality, as you can see. I've just gone to the desktop, and currently the images aren't showing, so you need to choose Files of Type. What type of images are you looking for? If we click the menu, there are plenty of options, and you can be very specific. Or you can be broader, selecting common graphic files, or even all files. But let's go with common graphic files for now. It's right at the top of the list. So I have 4 JPEGs, Blue Hills, Sunset, Water Lilies, and Winter. What you can do is either select a single file and add it to your input files list, Or you can select multiple files by clicking and holding down the Control key, the CTRL key, and clicking again and again for multiple selections. And add that, and you see that they appear here. And if we scroll over, there we go. Alternatively, you can click on the first one, then hold down the Shift key, which is just above the CTRL key, and click on the last one. And it selects everything from beginning to end when you do that. And if we add that, you see that there's actually a lot of duplication, which we don't want. So we need to remove the duplicates. So what I've done is sort the files. Let's do that again. Let me click on Sort Files, and you see you have a lot of choices. You can sort by name ascending, by name ascending XP style, by date ascending, and so on. Just click the one you want, or you can even auto-sort the list, but let's just go by name and OK. So we have 2 blue hills, 2 sunsets, and again I'm going to hold down Control CTRL so I can select multiple ones, blue hills, sunset, water lilies, winter. Those are the duplicates, and remove, and they're gone from the list because you don't want to convert those twice. Okay, here's the list where the files that are to be converted appear. Now, there's a feature here that's meant to include any images it finds in subfolders as well. You may want to try to use this feature. I've experimented with it, and it seems a little bit hit and miss, and it seems to work better if you simply select and add files to the input list this way. But you may want to play around with the Include Subdirectories feature to see how it works for you. Then at any time, if you wish to start over, you can just click on Remove All, and you can reorder the list if you want. You can select one file and move it up the list, or down the list. So there's the input list. Next, you need to select where it gets output to, where the converted or renamed files get sent to. You can use this button, use this directory as output, so the input directory also becomes the output directory. Input, of course, is the images before they're converted, and output is the images after they've been converted. As an alternative, you can browse to select a different folder or output location on your computer. Okay, then Work As and some options. Batch conversion, batch rename, and batch conversion rename result files. In this instance, let's just go with basic batch conversion. Then batch conversion settings, output format. What are we going to convert these images into? I'm just going to say GIF, convert them from JPEG to GIF. Then options, and these are the GIF options. So here are the GIF options: save interlaced, yes or no, save transparent color. Okay, let's untick that and OK that. And actually, with this screen, you want to ignore this section because this is just for JPEGs, because we're just dealing with GIFs in this example at the moment. Okay, now we're not going to use any advanced options, so let's start. And it's done. Errors 0, warnings 0. Nothing went wrong. So if we exit, let's go to the desktop to take a look. And there we go. There are the 4 JPEGs, and we've now converted them into GIFs. We haven't lost the original files, but we've instantly created GIFs. It's effectively as if I'd saved each of these JPEGs as GIFs, but it's all done a lot quicker than that. So that's how it works if you want to convert files from one format to another. Okay, back to IrfanView and back to the batch conversion screen. You see that when we're now listing common graphic files, we now have the JPEGs and the GIFs all listed. So let me narrow down the list and choose Files of Type, JPEG, and OK, I'm just listing the JPEGs. And I'm going to select these, the 4, and add, and there they are. And we're going to output to the same folder. And for this example, let's say Batch Rename. Okay, Batch Rename Settings. Set Rename Options. If we click this button, we get this. Name Pattern. So you see image and 3 hash symbols or pound signs. And here you see that it's telling you what the symbols mean. So the hash or pound sign means 1 digit or number. So essentially it would be image and then 001, then 002, and so on. You can see here that for digits and numbers, the starting index is 1 and the increment is 1. So basically, playing around with this screen will show you how your images get automatically renamed. Further options include copy original or input files to output directory. That's recommended. Alternatively, for example, you can rename original input files, but it's recommended that you keep a copy. So if you're going to use this feature, stick with this option where you maintain a copy of the original. That's safest. Also, leaving this unticked, the overwrite feature, is safest as well. So if I were to OK this, and let's start, you see it's done. And all it does is, it's like doing a save as. It makes a copy of the image and then just renames it. So you may find this useful. So winter.jpg has become image001.jpg. Blue Hills has become image002. So you may find a use for this, and you may want to play around with the naming rules, the rules that automatically name the image files. But for now, let's exit that. Finally, what I'll talk you through is the most advanced area of the batch conversion feature. Okay, we're back at the desktop again in the batch conversion screen. And now we're listing the JPEGs, and you actually have 8 JPEGs, of course, so let's select all 8. I've selected those with the Shift key. So add those to the input files list. Those are the input files, and let's send them to the same output directory, or rather it might be best to make a subfolder, so let me do that now. Jump to the desktop and quickly create a subfolder. Okay, I've created a new images folder, so now I need to change the output folder. Click on Browse, and there it is. There's the new images folder coming off the desktop. OK that, and there's the new output path. Now let's go with batch conversion again, but this time let's say we're going to be sticking with JPEG. We're not going to be converting the format, so the input files are going to be JPEG. And the output files are also going to be JPEG. But you see that you can click on options and actually change the quality of the JPEGs if you wish. But let's leave these at 100, best quality, and leave these unticked. OK that. What I'm going to do is use the advanced options, so tick that box and set advanced options. Okay, this screen has a lot of functionality. Basically, a lot of the functionality that IrfanView offers you can be applied to images here. You can automatically crop images, but of course all the images would be cropped the same way. You can't set up custom cropping for different images. If you want custom cropping, you'd have to do that to each image manually. Anyway, you can crop, you can resize, you can change color depth and other options, horizontal flip, vertical flip, rotate left, right, options such as sharpen, brightness, changing contrast, and so on, and miscellaneous, changing the canvas size, etc. You can see that a lot of functionality can be automatically applied here. As we continue through these videos, these functions will be covered in the main IrfanView software. So once that's done, you'll see how the functions are used, and then this option box will be a lot easier for you to use. There's no point in me taking you through all the functionality now because this really gets into some of the more advanced features of IrfanView. But as I talk through all these features of IrfanView in subsequent videos, then this option box will automatically become a lot clearer and a lot more useful to you. First of all, in this example, I'm going to stick with something I've done before, a functionality I've used before and demonstrated before. That's the resizing function. So to resize, just check the box. And you see that you can apply multiple changes. You can crop, resize, and even change color depth all at one time. Let's uncheck that. I don't want to change color depth now, and I don't want to crop now. Let's just resize. So set new size. Let's say set new size as a percentage of original, and let's make them half the size. Let's say 50%. And generally, it's advised to preserve the aspect ratio, which keeps the image in proportion. Otherwise, the image can look skewed if you change the width by 50% and the height by 200%, for example. Obviously, the image starts coming out in weird proportions. So generally, you want to preserve the aspect ratio so the width and height are both changed by 50%, by the same amount. Use resample function, which is better quality. I would say generally yes. And that will do in this example, so let's OK. And now we're all ready, so we can click on Start. And it's done. It's converted all those JPEGs. Through the conversion process, it's basically taken all those JPEGs, copied them into the New Images folder, and made them all half the size of the original. And we can check this. This is how the original images look, and you can see their size, and there's some duplication here, of course, since we created copies of the images when we renamed them. So here's image1.jpg, image2.jpg, image3, image4, then sunset.gif, and let's just quickly jump through these to the end. 12 of 12. So now, if we go one more to the right, IrfanView can't find any more images because we've gone through all 12 images in this folder. So let's click on the New Images folder, the New Images subfolder, and Use Folder. So now we've gone into that subfolder, and as you can see, the images look the same, but they're half the size because we resized them by 50%. And actually, they aren't half the size, they're effectively a quarter of the size because both the width and the height were both reduced by 50%. And let's quickly go through, that's image1.jpg, a quarter the size, image2, image3, image4, and again some duplication, sunset.jpg, a quarter the size, waterlilies.jpg, and winter.jpg, a quarter the size. So that's the main functionality of the batch conversion feature in IrfanView. And as you can see, if you're dealing with a lot of images, it can be very useful and a real time saver if you're doing a lot of repetitive tasks on one image after another, or if you've been working with bitmaps, let's say, and you have, let's say, 50 bitmaps you need to convert quickly to JPEGs for publishing online. This is fantastically useful and will save you a lot of time. So it's a great feature to become familiar with, especially if you do work with more images. It can be a real time saver.